People think that being a great athlete comes through practice, technical skills, speed, strength, and overall, just your physical capabilities. And while this may be true, one aspect of sports that people don't talk enough about is mental strength. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, picture this. You're 14, it's the last minute of your soccer game, your 10 teammates expect you to score the game-winning goal so that your team's national ranking goes up and you get seated in the highest bracket at your next college showcase, where coaches from the best colleges will be watching you and your teammates will finally get the exposure that their parents insist that they deserve. You could be at your best friend's birthday party, but instead you're here, almost passing out from heat exhaustion. And you couldn't have a sleepover the night before, because God forbid you have a sleepover the night before a soccer game. And you can't go to your school's play this upcoming week because you'll be too busy driving over an hour and a half through traffic to soccer practice. So, what is mental strength? Well, it's this: understanding sacrifices and being okay with them. I've been an athlete for most of my life. My parents signed me up for my preschool soccer team when I was 2 years old, and ever since then, I've played at every level of youth soccer. I started off by playing recreational soccer in elementary school, then I moved to a more competitive team in 4th grade. And ever since 6th grade, I knew that I wanted to play Division I soccer. Now, to give perspective on this, there are about 3 million youth soccer players ranging from ages 13 to 17 in the US. About half of these play women's soccer. And of that 1.5 million girls, only 2.4% of them end up playing Division I soccer. So, knowing this, I knew that I had a challenge that I was about to face. Now, I had the opportunity to play in San Jose for one of the best teams in Northern California. So I ultimately decided to join this team rather than play in San Francisco because I knew that this was the move I had to make if I wanted to achieve my dreams of playing D1. Now, driving from San Francisco to San Jose 3 to 4 times a week is a lot. In middle school, I would immediately get out of class, jump into a car, do my homework, and eat dinner on the way to practice. And although I had the reward of being on an outstanding soccer team, there were a lot of downsides. For example, I never felt like I was good enough, I wasn't strong enough, fit enough, fast enough, or smart enough. And I never talked about this with anyone because I thought people would think that I was weak or to tell me to just be better. And I thought it was just, all part of the process. But I felt like my life was a simulation because every single activity in my day was planned out to the very last second. And I was basically living in the same cycle of waking up, going to school, going to soccer, and going to sleep. And in middle school, I lost a lot of friends, unfortunately, because I didn't have any time to see anyone. And going into high school, I knew that I wanted my life to be different. I wanted to, hang out with my friends after school. And I wanted to create a community that I didn't have before. And in the beginning of my freshman year, I had the time of my life because I was making friends, meeting new people, and I was part of a community for the first time in my life. And this caused me to hate soccer because every time that I would get into my car to drive to practice, all I wanted to do was go home. And I would see my friends on social media, and they would be hanging out, and I got super jealous. I had FOMO, as many of you have probably had in your life. And this caused me to develop severe social anxiety. And I didn't talk about this with anyone. And after a few months of having these feelings, for the first time in my life, I wanted to quit soccer, which was a really weird feeling because I've loved soccer for my entire life, and it's been the one thing that I've consistently loved my entire life. But I couldn't because there were already Division I schools recruiting me, and it always made me return to the dream that I had as a little kid. But the pressure from this was really, really intense, and every time I would make a mistake in a game, I would sit in my room for hours and think about it repeatedly until I basically cried myself to sleep. And I felt pressure from my coaches, my family, my friends, school, and teachers, and what I felt like the world, and it really ran me down into the ground. But also, at this point in my life, I was getting written up in articles. I was getting recruited by, obviously, D1 schools, as I said before, and I was being invited to, the US national team, and I was ranked one of the best players in my class. I was in a position so many people dream to be in, yet I was willing to just throw it all away because I wanted to have a life. And I was so stressed out and dealing with depression and anxiety, and I also felt like people had this image of me in their head. And if I didn't align with that image, people would think that I sucked, for lack of a better word. And I was in high school, so I started going to parties, and I discovered alcohol, which led to not so great things. And again, I didn't tell anyone about this because I didn't want anyone to know, and I kind of felt ashamed of that. But at the same time as this, my friends were also asking me to hang out all the time, and I always gave them the same response. I can't, I have soccer. They would ask me, hey Jazzy, do you want to get coffee? Can't, I have soccer. Do you want to study for this test? Can't, I have soccer. One of my friends actually gifted me a bright blue shirt, and in giant letters it said, I can't, I have soccer, just on it for everyone to see. And it was kind of a joke, and I knew it was a joke, but it still got to me. And halfway through my freshman year of high school, I decided that I was going to quit soccer. And I talked to my parents about this, and they were really supportive of me, but I still felt really guilty because I felt like I had just wasted my time and my parents' time and money. And they told me to call my coach, one of my old coaches. So I called him up, and I told him everything that I was feeling. And he said this. He said, Leshnick, I have no idea what you're doing, and I understand what you're going through, but never once in your life have you ever wanted to quit soccer because of your friends. And you've wanted to play Division I soccer ever since I met you. You've wanted to be on the national team. You've had all of these aspirations ever since I met you. So I don't really know what you're doing. And he said a few words that were really powerful to me that I still hold with me to this day. He said, no athlete has ever been great if they haven't had to sacrifice something. So you need to step back and decide what your priorities are. So I did. I thought about it for a couple of weeks, and then I decided to wait a few more months until I revisited this decision of mine. And then COVID hit. And COVID was absolutely horrible for my motivation, but I still had to practice every day on my own because, that's what my club had me do. And I wasn't really going to practices, didn't have any games. I was still getting recruited by colleges, but obviously I wasn't playing any games, so they couldn't really see me. But one of the best outcomes of COVID was that I finally had time to face my mental health head on. So I started a conversation with my parents and my friends, and I asked for help, and I'm so grateful that I did, because I got a therapist, I was talking about how I felt, and it felt really good. And so after about 3 to 4 weeks, I decided that I would leave soccer, leave my club team, for a month, just completely take it out of my life to see what my life would be without it. So at the start of this month, I was really happy because I was, hanging out with my family more, staying up late on weekends to watch TV, and I was talking to my friends, and I was really happy. But there was a part of me that missed soccer so much. I didn't feel complete, basically. I knew that I missed soccer. So I kind of had like an internal conversation with myself, and I decided that I would go back to club because I knew that I wanted to play D1 soccer. I missed the competition of it. I miss scoring goals, I miss seeing my teammates, I miss traveling with my team. So about a month and a half later after I quit, I rejoined my team. And when I rejoined my team, the vibes were just really bad because there were a lot of cliques, there was a lot of toxicity, a lot of my teammates were homophobic, and as a queer athlete, they were spreading rumors about me. And this made me lose my motivation all over again because I didn't want to work for these people, I didn't want to help these people win, and I basically wanted to see them fail because I didn't like any of them. So I stopped really practicing when I was at practice, and I stopped really caring. And then my coach pulled me over, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I hate these people because they're horrible." And he didn't really do anything about it, so I decided to turn the anger that I had into motivation. I was determined to be better than them, faster than them, score more goals than them, and I was determined to go to a better college than them. So I basically worked my butt off for the next year, and fast forward to my junior year, I decided to commit to Harvard to play Division I soccer. So as an athlete that has experienced this broad spectrum of youth soccer, I can tell you one thing. It is really hard and difficult and intense and just crazy. And getting over this mental barrier that I had was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I often think about how close I was to quitting and how my life would be completely different. People don't understand how intense soccer is at a high level, and there are a lot of teen athletes that just don't know how to talk about, the issues that they're going through. For me personally, I didn't think anyone understood me, so I didn't think anyone could help me. But I'm so grateful that I opened myself up and asked for help, and I'm super thankful that I got that help, because if I didn't get that help, I wouldn't be where I was today. I possessed all of the physical capabilities of what a great athlete is, but I didn't possess the one most important thing. I didn't have the mental game. The greatest athletes like Lionel Messi and Michael Jordan are obviously fantastic athletes on the outside, but inside they possess discipline, confidence, composure, and commitment, which I didn't have. And by no means am I a great athlete now, because I'm going D1. I still have a lot of growing to do, both on and off the field, and I still have urges to hang out with my friends and go to soccer. But when I have these urges, I think to myself, I think about what my coach said to me. He said, if you want to be great, you have to accept your sacrifices and suffering. Thank you.